This is the Jocko Underground Podcast, number 80, with Echo Charles and me, Jocko Link. Echo Charles sitting across from me. What's up, EC?
What's up?
Want to address something, man. And sure, this is something we talk about, and we're going to talk about it again. One of the biggest problems that you can have as a human being is a lack of self-awareness. That is one of the biggest problems that you can have as a human being. And what's crazy about it is, if, let's say there's someone, Fred has no self-awareness. If Fred sees something, if Fred sees someone else doing what he's doing, he immediately sees it's a violation.
Yeah.
100%. He's like, oh, wow, could they be doing that? He's thinking violation. Mm-hmm. But when Fred does it himself, he doesn't see it. Mm. He either doesn't see it himself, which means he's totally lacking self-awareness, or he doesn't think other people can see what he's doing. Mm. So you really, truly have to learn to detach. And we talk about how to get that done. We talk about taking a step back. We talk about writing things down. We talk about ways to separate your actions from your assessment of those actions. We talk about ways to separate what you're doing and pulling yourself out so you can actually see what you're doing and not be the one doing it. So you can, like Fred, when the time calls for it, you can say, oh, I'm violating basic principles right now. I'm being dumb.
Yeah.
If you think right now, if you're listening and you think like, oh, I don't ever lose self-awareness, this is for you. Mm. That's a little mind trick that's happening, right? Where you think you always can see everything. That's when you actually can't. Mm. If you think that no one can ever see the moves that you're making, this is for you. This is for you. If you're right now, you're like, dude, Jocko's a little bit wrong, man. He's a little bit wrong here. Yeah. No one can see these moves that I'm making. Mm-hmm. No one can tell that I'm taking care of myself right now. Mm-hmm. If you're thinking that right now, mm-hmm. you're who I'm talking to. Everyone can see it. They can see it. They do see it. Sometimes people can be so unaware that they don't even consider what other people are thinking. They just carry on. Like you see Fred, he's just doing what he's doing. He can't even comprehend that someone else could see it. It's not even part of the equation at all. It's not like, hey, they probably don't see it, or hey, this is what I'm doing, but they can't. No, they don't even recognize that could be a thing. Yeah. I've known people that are that lacking in self-awareness. Mm. So you have to be on the watch for that. We have to be careful. Think about what other people are thinking, right? This is the dichotomy of like, I don't care what anybody else thinks, which is in some ways a really good attitude to have, and in some ways it's a really horrible attitude to have. Mm-hmm. Right? In some ways it's great to say, hey, you know what? I don't care what they think. Yeah. Also, if you think that and you act like that, you're probably being seen by a bunch of people as someone that's looking out for themselves, as someone that's an egomaniac, as someone that they don't want to hang around with. Like, that's what's happening.
Yeah.
So how are we going to detach? I always talk about writing as a tool for detachment, because when you write things down, you are physically detached. You can see the words on the page now. But here's what I want you to write down. I want you to write down your intent when you're doing something. When you're going into a meeting, what's your intent? Your true intent. What is it? Write that thing down. Yeah. Write that thing down. And now, once you've written it down, imagine that you're walking into this meeting and you have that intent printed on your forehead.
Yep. That's a good one.
You might as well.
Yeah.
You might as well. Because if you go in there thinking that they're not going to know your intent, they're going to. Now, listen, they might not know your exact intent, but as we say, intent has a smell, and they're damn sure going to smell it. And they know it smells bad. You put some perfume over it, right? Put some, what's the cologne if you're a dude, right? Yeah. Put the cologne, cologne. or the deodorant. Sure. Put that on. You can mop that on there.
Yeah.
And people smell that, and they even still say, no. Yep. When they put the little pine tree, right, in the taxi cab, you get in there, man, it still smells terrible. Yep. Like it smells pine needles and whatever else.
Funk.
Not good. Funk.
Yep.
So you can try and cover it up, but you can't. So write down what your intent is. So you can detach from it, so you can see it. And once you see it, know this. That intent that you have, it flows into how you carry yourself. It flows into the way the words come out of your mouth. It's part of you. It's truly part of you, and you can't cover it up. And I've seen people that think they can do this. And it's the lack of self-awareness is horrible. You know, it's like you see someone that has, you ever heard a report from someone that's, I have a great relationship with that person, and the other person literally hates them.
Yeah.
That's how unaware they are. I have a great relationship with Fred. Fred hates me, despises me, and I think I have a great relationship. That's how bad it gets. So you got to be more suspect of yourself. You got to be more suspect of yourself. You don't sound as cool as you think you do. You don't sound as slick as you think you do, by the way. You really don't. Right? I talk about Meryl Streep and Robert De Niro. You're not Meryl Streep. You're not Robert De Niro. You're not acting. You're not fooling anybody.
Sure.
You aren't that good at acting. Doesn't work. So if you sit down and you write down your intent, and your intent is bad, and if you would feel ashamed to walk into the meeting with your intent written on your t-shirt, hey, my goal in this meeting is to look good in front of the boss so I can get promoted. If that's what your intent is, and listen, everybody knows it. If that's what your intent is, you need to do some soul searching and change your intent. Your intent is bad. Your intent is bad. You should change your intent to, okay, I am going to help with the mission. I'm going to put the team first. That's my intent. Now, here's where people get messed up. They get jammed up. Is I think, well, but I really want to get promoted. Okay, so you walk into that meeting with that intent, and guess what? Everyone can see it. No one wants to work with you. Your boss thinks you're an ass kisser. It's all bad. Yeah. If you change your intent, you go, you know what? Okay, I don't care about getting promoted. What I want to do is help the team, put the team first, and accomplish the mission. Imagine you walk in with that on your shirt, and the other teammates go, I put the team first. They see that. They smell it. They go, right on. The boss smells, oh, Jocko really cares about the team. Oh, okay, he really wants to get the mission done. Okay. They smell that. Now they get a positive impression. Now they're like, oh, we want to help. The rest of the teams are like, yeah, we want to help you too. You know what you end up doing? You end up getting promoted. That's the byproduct. Yeah. That's the byproduct of what's going on. So if you're write down your intent. Do some soul searching. Don't lie to yourself. Don't lie on that piece of paper. By the way, this is the kind of piece of paper you better hide, right? Because you don't want your freaking, someone rummaging through your office and they say, my intent for this meeting is to get promoted. Right?
Watch out.
So write down your intent. And if your intent is not a pure, positive, selfless intent, become a better person. Become a better person. And that will absolutely help you. It'll help your team. It'll help you accomplish the mission. And it'll help you win. So there you go. Something to think about.
Yeah, we talk about like obvious little things like name dropping and like someone trying to one up somebody, whatever. Yeah. It's like this is all like I used to have conversations with my brother about this kind of stuff where so he would start debates with people.
Oh yeah, Charles.
Yeah, and
100%.
After a while, like,
time.
and let's face, sometimes it's fun. It depends on who you're hanging around with. But sometimes, straight up, like some people don't want that. Some people.
Hey, most people are cool with it for half an hour.
Yeah, more like 10 minutes. But yeah, you make a good point. But put it this way: the point is, different people like it to varying degrees, right? Some people, but they don't like that stuff, right? Yeah. And after a while, it's kind of like, hey, you might rub people the wrong way. It's always trying to start debating and wait, but so anyway, we'd have these conversations when I talk to him about that kind of stuff. And the way I put it, which actually you put it better, but the way I put it is what you're saying is correct. Like the words that you're saying, like all your little points that you're making, that's all correct. So what you're saying is right, but what you're doing is wrong. And he's like, oh yeah. And then I'm like, so why the heck? Because I'm sure I've done it before too. I'm sure like, it's not like this rare thing. So I'm thinking, why is that kind of hard sometimes? And the intent, having a smell is the perfect way to put it because it doesn't have a look. It doesn't have a sound, maybe some tones here and there, but you can more smell it than anything.
Yeah, and even the words can be the opposite of the smell, but the smell matters.
Exactly right.
The smell matters more.
And that was part of my point when I said what you're saying is literally correct, what you're saying, but what you're doing is wrong. So this is why it's hard. This is why I think, anyway. Because you sometimes don't even consciously, you're not thinking of your intent. Sometimes you are, but sometimes you're not. The thing is, it doesn't matter, but because you think it's in your head, they can't see it. They can't hear it. All they can hear is your words, right? So you think there's the message. Yep. There's the message they're picking up on, right?
That stinks.
Meanwhile, it stinks badly too. And, and so, yeah, that's like the good way to put it, where it's like it has a smell, and no matter what you do, no matter how you cover it up. I like the cologne analogy too, because when you put cologne on that stink, it's just yet another stink smell. And it's actually worse because now they picked up on your original intent and the fact that you're trying to cover it up with some other disingenuous stuff. So it's like, man, we got to keep that under wraps, man. And I guess that's like an exercise, right? Like you got to kind of.
Well, that's the exercise. Write it down.
Yeah.
That's the exercise. And what's interesting is, like you said, a lot of times people don't even recognize that they have an intent, but you do. Yeah. It's running there's a decent chance that it's running in the background. Yeah. Like the operating system is running in the background for this meeting, for this life, for this job, this family. Like imagine you're going to talk to your wife and you have your intent written on your head. Right?
Yeah, sure.
You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
And she's going to smell that.
Yeah.
And if it's not a good intent, she's going to know.
Yeah.
Your kids, same thing. They're going to know. And they're also going to know if you're doing something good. Mm. They're also going to know if you're doing something for the right reason.
Yeah.
Let's say you're working with somebody, maybe they have a relationship, a work relationship with someone else that you don't get along with. Mm. If you're like, well, I'm going to sneak around and, try and make a maneuver. Mm. Everyone's going to smell that.
Yeah.
But if you're just like, hey man, good to meet you.
Yeah.
Hey, good to meet you, Fred. Hey, what can I do to support? Yeah. If that's your intent, truly. But if you're like, hey Fred, what can I do to support you? And they're gonna know that, you're just trying to make a maneuver here. No. Don't let that happen. Clean your intent. Be a good human. This will help you. Yeah. This will help you in the long run. These little conniving moves that you're making are not going to help you in the long run. Hey, they might get you that one promotion. Everyone hates you. Right? They might get you that one promotion, but they don't get you the next one.
Yeah.
You have to leave that company. It's just a disaster. Like Jordan Peterson talks about psychopaths. They have to leave. Yeah. Like they have to live in Detroit. Then they do. And these aren't like, I'm not talking about psychopaths that are murderers. I'm just talking about like the non-murdering psychopaths, people that are just, they're screwing people over and they have to leave. They can only do 9 months in Detroit. Then they got to go to Chicago for 6 months. Then they go to Cincinnati. They got to go from place to place. There's burning bridges everywhere. Yeah. So don't do that. There you go.
Yeah. That's going to take some practice though, because there are some innocent situations. Like let's say,
you want to debate with me?
No. I'm saying I believe that you were 100% correct. I'm saying, if you keep it in mind, you'll probably understand that, hey, you might have to really you have to put some effort into this stuff sometimes, because let's say I make some coffee for my wife or whatever. Oh, no. How about this? Let's say I clean the living room or something. I clean it up nice because I know she likes it clean. But let's say she walks by the living room, she didn't even see. I want her to see the clean living room and be happy, but I still want that credit too, So she walks by it, right out the door. And I'm very compelled to flag her down and be like, hey, did you notice the living room I cleaned up? I want that, I want that praise or credit or whatever.
Get aggressive with that. Like, You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
I've seen situations where people are aggressive about wanting that credit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
By the way, as soon as you're aggressive about wanting the credit is worthless. It's totally worthless. Like when you're like, hey, babe, did you see I cleaned the living room? She's like, she's mad. Like you went negative.
Right. And again, on the innocent side, it's like I wouldn't approach it, or put it this way.
Because as soon as you say, hey, babe, didn't you see that's when you wrote your intent on your T-shirt. I wanted credit.
Exactly right. But I wouldn't approach her all like, hey, like mad. Mm-hmm. I would be like in a good way. Mm-hmm. But still, the intent is kind of but yeah, fully. But the point is, you really want that. Like you want it, so it'll come so natural to be like, wait a second, look at the living room, or like, at work, you'd give these examples all the time at work where, this project is turned in and you did like literally half the work, right? And, you advise, which again takes practice, but I agree is ideal to be like, no, you give the credit to your team, right? Even though you did half the work or 3/4 of whatever. But when you're new to
your intent when you say that, even though you did have to work, see,
sometimes all of it, but the compulsion to like want the credit, right? Especially to like a boss that you really want him to like
strong,
like respect you and respect your work or whatever. It's strong, and it's not even necessarily evil or malicious. You just like, I want to be represented accurately in the results of this project, kind of a thing, So it's like so natural to be compelled to be like, hey, but then just like I said, once you jump out there and start saying, hey, I want, basically this is what you're doing. What you're saying is correct. Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure, Echo, you did have to work. Correct. But what you're doing, jumping in the limelight and saying, wait, what about my praise? Because I want my praise too from you. That's what you're doing. It's not correct.
Yeah.
It's not good.
Whenever you try, and that, when you have that feeling, I mean, this is a whole new rabbit hole to go down. Yeah. Because now we're getting resentful.
Sure.
Right? And once you get resentful, then you go Cain and Abel, and next thing you know, you're killing your brother because you didn't get the credit that you wanted. Sure. Right?
Sure.
So what happens?
Yeah.
Because your intent is bad. Yeah. Because when Cain made his sacrifice to God, he did it because he wanted to look good. Mm-hmm. He didn't do it just as a pure sacrifice like Abel did. Abel's like, hey, thank you, God, but here's my sacrifice. Cain was like, here's my sacrifice. Isn't it nice? Can I get a little head nod over here? Big G man.
Yep.
But no, it was not enough. If he wrote his intent, it would say, I'm making sacrifice to God so that I can go into his light. Abel said, I'm making a sacrifice to God because I want to support him. Not about me.
Let me ask you this. Kind of has something to do with it. Made me think of it. So, bragging, right?
Yeah.
Bragging. And then there's like humble bragging, right? Which is like kind of that, right? Where it's like they're making anyway. So are there can you brag about something? Is it ever like kind of cool or fine for someone to brag about something, you think, from an ideal standpoint?
I think the answer is no. I mean, I'm sure, look, we could parse the world apart and find a place where it makes sense. But I can't really think of one, man. I can't think of one where that gives you credit.
Right.
I can't give you a situation where, you know what, it's a good... That is a little excerpt of what we are doing on the Jocko Underground podcast. So if you want to continue to listen, go to jockounderground.com and subscribe. And we're doing this to mitigate our reliance on external platforms so we are not subject to their control. And we're doing it so we can give you more control, more interaction, more direct connections, better communications with us, strengthen this legion of troopers that are in the game with us. So thank you. It's jockounderground.com. It costs $8.18 a month. And if you can't afford to support us, we can still support you. Just email assistance@jockounderground.com and we'll get you taken care of. Until then, we will see you mobilized underground.